Tuesdays. Yes, howdy, y'all.
Howdy, y'all.
We're reading True Detective. We've read Sherlock, we've read Batman. Now, this is a different type of detective story. And most of this is a cold read, and we did a whole shuffle of the characters right before this. So it should be interesting and fun. We'll be talking to ourselves. We'll be, seeing what we can figure out on the fly. And we're going to go around and introduce you to this very brave and daring cast to take this on. So in my top corner is Vicki Dykes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vicki Dykes. I'm from Central Alberta. I'm an actress. And tonight I'm reading, I think it's 8 characters. Should be a lot of fun. If you want to see me on social media, I'm under the name of Vicki Dykes with Facebook, and I'm on Instagram. I'm YogaGrandma7.
All right. Yes, 8 times the fun. All right, next welcoming back Ari.
Hi, I am Ari Williamson. I'm a voice actor and covering a handful of these characters as well. It should be a fun time. I'm happy to be back.
All right. And we have Heather Lee Cameron.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Heather Lee Cameron. I live in Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. I'm an actor, a voice actor, a writer / freelance journalist, and a family history research student and an independent filmmaker. You can find my work on Heather Lee Freelancer on YouTube, and on YouTube, The Storm and Latter-day Saints.
Awesome, awesome. And in case you wanted to, Ari, you didn't say where people can find you. Did you want to or not?
I'm located in Calgary, Alberta. You could find me on Facebook and Instagram as Ari Williamson.
All right.
By the way, I have been doing some things recently, but I can talk about those after.
Okay. If it's brief, you can mention it real quick.
Oh, I've been doing some fan reads of the episodes of Gravity Falls with the group I encountered. I don't know how I met them, but I've been doing fan reads of episodes of Gravity Falls and some other things.
And where can they find those?
Well, I put links to the reads up on my Instagram, Heather Lee Cameron.
Perfect. And welcoming back Jeremy Burgett. Right. So tell them about yourself and where they can find you and all that jazz and what you do.
Oh, I got to unmute my mic first. Sorry, I dipped out there for a second. I clicked the wrong button. My name is Jeremy Burgett, and I'm a singer and actor, and oftentimes a crew member here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas. And you can just find my name on Instagram or Facebook.
Excellent. I'm Jacob Patrick. I'll be reading Actions Descriptions, but just come and see me every Tuesday here on Table Read Tuesday, live on YouTube. All right. And with that, we will read the script and then talk about it afterwards. So, sharing coming up now. Here we go. And as you can see, we're zooming in for ease of read. It's 125%, but if you're trying to get used to what a script looks like, this is more accurate. So we'll go here and all right, True Detective, Chapter 1, Long Red Dark by NIC PIZZOLATTO. I apologize if I butchered that. True Detective, Chapter 1, Long Red Dark. Title credits. Fade in. Interior interrogation room. Day. Open on Martin Hart, staring directly at us, seated at a table. He's 56, tall, broad. He has thick gray hair, close cropped, a hard face. He wears a well-made suit, and there's a kind of physical intensity in his bearing. He simmers. Cigarette burns and gouges pock the table's linoleum surface. And behind Hart is only a green plaster wall. empty except for its upper right side, in which half a bulletin board is in frame, and on it, half of a wanted poster can be seen. As Martin stares at us, words are typed into the bottom of the screen. Carrier typeface, the sound of keys punching. Chiron, Arkansas State Police, CID, Company D. Statement of Hart, Martin, Eric. Present, Sergeant Thomas F. Papania, Sergeant Maynard Gilbro, May 2010.
What I think? You know, they called him the banker for a while. Department opened up some new positions in CID that year. Cocaine was on the rise and meth was getting big, so I partnered up.
A beat. Then he seems to speak as if in response to a question.
Seemed a little raw-boned to me, a little edgy. Finally get him over for dinner around the time of our first female 419, the Pine Angel in Benton County. That's what you all really want to talk about, right, Dora Lange?
Another beat, as he seems to listen.
All right. Rust. Well, as a for instance, I finally got him over for dinner. The case was still hot, and I had a bit of respect for him by then, seeing how he ran out front with it. So, one evening, a Tuesday maybe.
Interior Hart home, night, Chiron typed, 1990. Martin Hart, 36, in better shape and with darker hair, answers his front door. It opens onto Rustin Cohle, 31, smaller, handsome, but hard-worn, his shirt and suit disheveled, bleary-eyed and frightened. He stands on the porch with a cheap bouquet in his hand as 2010 Hart speaks.
Poor bastard looked like he was on his way to a firing squad. Then I see it.
His dark hair mussed, Rust shakily holds out the bouquet, close on his face, wet, red eyes, red nose.
He's blind drunk.
Bring him in, Marty. Let's get a look at him.
Pull back onto the house and see that it is a modest, well-maintained home in the middle-class family with small children. Hart and Cohle look back and forth at one another. Cole's look apologetic and helpless, both understanding that he's in no shape to have dinner with Hart's family. Hart puts a hand on his shoulder, takes the flowers, and leads Cohle in.
Just smile and you'll be fine. I'll put coffee on. We'll get somebody to call up here with an excuse for you to leave.
Cohle looks like he might cry, either from gratitude or terror. Then two little girls come hopping in, Audrey 10 and Macie 7. They surround the two men, giddy at the new visitor. For a moment, these two stern men look absolutely baffled by the little girls jumping at their calves, the wilted flowers hanging between them. Interrogation room, day. The same interrogation room, but the chair is empty. A new man steps into frame, sits down. Recognize Rustin Cohle, 51, 20 years older, taking Hart's place across the table, staring at us. Same wall with the corner of the bulletin board behind him. Same piece of a wanted poster. He hasn't lost any hair, but it's streaked with steel gray, wild, unkept, and in need of a trim. He's leaner. In the intervening years, he's shed pounds, and now his cheeks are sunken. He almost looks emaciated, lupine. He's unshaven, wearing rumpled clothes. Notice, covering Cole's left inner forearm, a colorful, slightly faded tattoo of flames with a pair of dice at the apex. Chiron typed, Arkansas State Police, CID, Company D, statement of Cohle, Rustin Spencer. Present Sergeant Thomas F. Papania, Sergeant Maynard Gilbro, May 2010. Cohle clears his throat, his voice gravelly. When he finally speaks, it's as if in an answer to a question.
Yeah, of course. Pine Angel. I think the Democrat Gazette for that one.
Cohle pauses and lights a cigarette, then suddenly looks between it and the camera, as though he's been admonished. He deliberates the lit cigarette, then keeps smoking.
Don't be a dick about it. You want to hear this or not? Benton County Sheriff requested assistance with a 419 at the edge of the woods off Highway 20, south of Eureka Springs. This is our first real heater. I've been around about 3 months at the time. Had just observed Marty till then.
Cohle ashes on the table, staring belligerently. Exterior woods near Highway 20, Arkansas morning. Red clouds at a red sunrise, a heavily wooded valley surrounded by denser forest, the Ozarks fencing the horizon in dun-colored spikes. Blobs of gray snow litter the dark soil, a crisp ruby light. Following 3 men across this valley, a uniformed sheriff's deputy walking point, leading 2 men in trench coats and suits, Martin Hart and Rustin Cohle, 1990. Hart's hands are stuffed in his pockets, and Cohle carries a crime scene kit and a legal-sized portfolio. We watch this deputy leading them toward deeper woods. Notice all the birds roosting outside the forest, and 2010 Cohle speaks in voiceover.
Last gasp of winter. It was about 7 a.m., March 3rd, 1990. My daughter's birthday, I remember.
Walking, Rustin sees a black snake winding through the grass, away from the direction they're traveling. Angle ahead, where the tree line breaks. Sheriff's deputies stand a couple dozen yards from a dark shape hunched at the base of a large pine tree. The men talk between themselves, their backs turned away from the shape. Breathe visible in the crisp air. Exterior forest, Arkansas morning. Without saying anything, the deputy leads Hart and Cohle to the dark slumped shape. The deputy tries not to look at it, but he can't help himself. On Hart and Cole's faces. As the deputy steps aside, Hart looks vaguely horrified. Cole's face simply tenses and his eyes sharpen. Behind him, birds shriek from across from the trees. Cohle moves past Hart to get closer. Angle on body, depicted as mercifully as possible. A white female, naked, posed kneeling over a large tree root, her hands folded as if in prayer, head down. A crown of roots and thorns is set on her scalp. A pair of large, dark wings have been attached to her back. The wings drape over her ribs, their feather tips sunken into a small patch of dirty snow. Cohle puts on a pair of latex gloves and looks from the body to the trees. Around it, notice a pentagram freshly carved into the pine tree beside the body.
Holy God.
Cohle crouches to examine the wings, angle on his hands, shifting the feathers. Notice the wings are bonded at their axillaries with some kind of industrial adhesive, which has scoured the flesh around them with chemical burns. Cohle gently gasps her head and lifts her face. Her face is intact, her eyes gray and dull. It's not an unattractive face, but white and something subtle in it. A parting of the lips almost suggests a rapture.
You guys touch anything?
One of the uniformed men stepped out, Sheriff Tate, 49, soft and booze-reddened.
They know all about crime scenes. You think anybody wants to touch this?
Who found her?
Hospital chopper on its way to St. Jude's spotted her, phoned us.
M.E.?
County's on his way. Wade Davis. Good man.
Cohle looks back at the body, the crown, the wings.
Bullshit. Call States. Tell him to send Gordon Dicillo.
Tate flares his nostrils, shares a pissed off glance with the deputies. Marty sighs, this rude android of a partner. Again, crouching, Cohle examines the body, follow his hands, which move gently in featherly touches and grips, disturbing as little as possible while his voiceover speaks.
It was pretty fresh. Animals hadn't been at it. She still had her eyes.
He moves his hands down her body, noting bruises.
Lividity at her shoulders, thighs, and anterior torso. She was on her stomach a while before he moved her here.
Angle on a black miniskirt hanging above the body on branches, the skirt cut down the middle and spread open like a bat's wings.
You ever seen anything like this?
No. 11 years old. CID.
Satanic. That's the word for it. They had a 2020 on it last year.
The sun has risen higher, and now a sunbeam has come down, lighting the tableau as if by spotlight. All of the men notice. Cohle looks up and sees that the killer positioned the body directly beneath a break in the trees so that the sun would purposefully light her figure.
She looks like some kind of religious statue.
Cohle looks at her in the sunbeam with new eyes, halted as if seeing things differently.
ID?
Tate shakes his head. Cohle looks toward the shadows of the Ozarks, the low valley between them, a desolate flatness. He turns to Hart. A glance gives Cohle permission to take lead.
We need more men for a grid search. We'll get troopers out here, but we could use more deputies. I need you guys to set up a perimeter.
He points back through the fields at the far convergence of rural highways.
Wide as possible on these 3 roads. One of you post up. Take license plates of anything that passes too.
The deputies just stare at Cohle until he eyes Sheriff Tate. Sheriff Tate nods to his men, and they disperse to take positions. Art pulls out a large radio from his trench coat.
A23, we need trooper assist on that 419. All you can spare for canvas.
Roger, A23. When he's done, he puts on latex gloves and crouches beside Cohle, who's already kneeling beside the body. Notice Cohle doesn't care about his pants, knees, and he writes on a big legal pad he's brought.
Look at your marks at wrists and ankles, hemorrhaging around the throat.
Interior interrogation room, day. The 2010 frame and 56-year-old Martin Hart.
That's why they called him the banker. Most of us, used a little notepad you'd have in a pocket. Rust carried down this big portfolio, wrote down everything. And his first couple months, he had to do a lot of canvassing, so it looked funny. Him going door to door with that big ledger, like the census taker, thus the banker. Not so bad as far as nicknames go.
As Martin speaks toward the camera, there is a withheld affection in his remembrance. Clearly, he has a complexity of feelings about Rust and Cohle, but respect is part of that.
I mean, I'd seen the different types. We all fit categories. The bully, the charmer, the father figure, the man possessed by ungovernable rage, the eyes, the brain, and any of those types can be a good detective, and any of those types can be an incompetent crap heel. It's how they manage the burden of authority, yeah?
He thinks a moment, perhaps listens to a comment from his interviewer.
It's like a father's authority, a father's burden. It's too much for some people. Same thing I look for when I hire guys for the agency now. You want a certain toughness, but the kind that doesn't veer towards callous, because that's a dangerous road. Aggression is necessary. It is. So's compassion, a sense of fairness.
Exterior Forest, Arkansas, day. Crime scene. Cohle and Hart continue examining the body. Cohle takes furious notes. We cannot hear what they say, only Hart's 2010 testimony.
You want them to be thorough, to have good eyes, ask the right questions, to have steady habits.
On Cole's face as he studies the body, takes notes.
A smart guy who's steady is hard to find. I mean, I admit I wasn't the most brilliant case man the division ever saw. I got lucky a few times. I was all right, better than some. But I knew how to talk to people, and I was steady.
Cohle writes furiously, scans the environment around the body.
Rust was smart.
Exterior, Rainbow Apartments, Northwest Arkansas, day. A seedy brick line of apartments, the size of motel rooms in the middle of nowhere, fields and desolation around.
Second week we were together, I saw where he was living, and I felt for the guy.
Angle on an unmarked CID car as Cohle and Hart step out, and Hart follows his partner to the door. Interior, Cole's apartment, day. Cohle opens the door, and from Hart's POV, we take in the room. It's empty except for a couple of boxes, depressingly bleak and completely unadorned. A mattress on the floor, a crucifix above the mattress, no TV, stacks of thick books in various spots on the floor.
I thought of some Quasimodo character living in a belfry, like he had these textbooks stacked on the floor.
Angle on the books. Notice the titles: Advanced Crime Scene Analysis, Offender Profiling, Sex Crime Investigation, Advanced Homicide Investigation. Hart looks at Cohle, a little weirded out.
I'd offer you a seat.
Don't mention it.
Interior Interrogation Room Day. Martin Hart, 56.
You know, the photos in those books, not the sort of thing you'd leave lying around, at least if you expected anybody else to ever walk in your place. One of those moments I was glad I made a family.
Exterior Forest, Arkansas Day. Crime scene. Detectives Cohle and Hart are alone beside the body, having finished their examination. Cohle sits on a log and continues writing on his tablet. Looking around, Hart stands and talks on the radio. We can't hear his 1988 voice, only the 2010.
I didn't really mind he was quiet. Mainly nobody understood what he was doing here. Brought in from Louisiana, and he wasn't interested in making buddies.
Hart puts down the radio, moves to where Cohle sits writing, the body nearby, like a dark angel on the periphery of the frame.
Dicillo said he'll be here in 20.
Cohle doesn't respond, keeps writing. Hart takes out a can of smokeless tobacco and fills his bottom lip. Then they both wait, with a silence between them. Angle on Cohle's tablet. He's moved to the drawing sketches of the crime scene and body.
Bobby and Steve and the other guys thought he was stuck up, like he thought he was better than other people. But up close, it was more complicated, more like a paranoia.
Exterior Force, Arkansas Day. Cohle directs one section of the grid search and Marty another. On Cohle as he gives orders.
We didn't know what he'd been doing before CID. I didn't know about all that undercover work until later.
A tinge of sympathy is evident in Hart's voice. Interior Interrogation Room Day. Rustin Cohle, age 51, disheveled, smoking. Somebody brought him an old coffee mug to use as an ashtray.
Yeah, well, devil's in the details, yeah. I wrote everything I could, tried to capture the moment, its essence. Because you never know what the thing's going to be, do you? The essential, unlikely clue, thing that way down the line, maybe months or years later, makes you say, ah, breaks the case wide.
He pauses, remembering, smokes.
So we're sitting there waiting on Dicillo, this scene. I mean, we'd encountered a full-fledged meta psychotic. I had to explain to Marty what that was.
Exterior Forest, Arkansas Day. Crime scene. In the distance, we can see deputies spreading out across the fields. The detectives are still the only two near the body. Cohle gestures to it as he speaks to Hart, his portfolio laid down.
This is going to happen again.
What do you think you know?
This is a fantasy reenactment. There's fetishization, something like iconography.
Satanist crap.
No, but it's a religious vision. Her body is a paraphilic love map.
What?
Cole's eyes trawl over the body.
An attachment of physical lust to fantasies and practices forbidden by society.
You learned that in your books?
I did. You see how short that skirt was? Decent odds she's a prost. Maybe a hitchhiker, but this guy's been thinking about this for a long time.
Just don't want us jumping to any conclusions.
I bet we get ID off her prints.
Hart, a senior detective, probes Cohle to test his judgment.
What else?
Missing persons, obviously. We need to look into any reports of unrelated sexual events like flashing or fetish burglaries. Check all prior arrests going back the last several years for the Northwest counties. Any B&E with a fetish component. Sexual offenders paroled to the state.
Hart is impressed by the rookie's detective assessment.
These things don't occur in a vacuum.
Hart nods, and Cohle returns to sitting on his log, watching the body. Hart watches him. Silence for several beats. The dark assemblage flirts with the absurdity. The two suited men sitting near that horrible corpse, being quiet like schoolboys or nervous suitors. Hart seems perturbed, finally speaks.
This is a stupid time to mention it, but you have to come over to the house for dinner. I can't put Maggie off anymore, and it's crappy and rude for you not to.
Cohle thinks.
All right.
Cohle looks slightly on edge now, grips his portfolio on his lap, stares at the girl, stay on Cole's face, a dull dread in it. His eyes look trapped as he sits with Hart.
I get this stone in my gut, see, because I think about Marty's wife and his two girls sitting down to dinner with this family. And I'm thinking about Sophia, my daughter, and how it's her birthday. Now she's been gone almost 5 years.
Interior interrogation room day, older, haunted. Cohle continues his story.
And I know right then that I'm going to have a drink.
Exterior forest, Arkansas day. Crime scene. Later, M.E. Gordon Dicillo has arrived, mid-40s to 50s. He squats by the body while an assistant takes photos under his direction. In the fields beyond, notice state patrolmen and sheriff's deputies walking a slow grid formation through the fields, while a few other deputies hold off a press van on the county road. Cohle and Hart stand near Dicillo, watching, almost looking over his shoulder. Angle on pruning shears. Dicillo uses them to cut the wings at their base with a wet, crunching sound.
Egging these separate.
Let's see if you can find out what type of bird those belong to.
Looks like maybe a turkey vulture.
A trooper approaches the detectives. Sir, we got drag marks. Exterior field, Arkansas day. Angle on slight streaks of blood on the high grass, almost imperceptible, as the wave of mashed down grass leading between the forest and the road. Cohle studies them, looks at the road.
There's going to be some tire tracks on the shoulder of the road there. Can you make tread casts?
Yes, sir.
All right, get cast. Check the opposite shoulder. Cast anything over there too. I got mold kits in my bag at the scene if you need them.
The trooper nods, hustles off, and Cohle looks at the drag trail, the dark trees and cold, bright sky. He sees Sheriff Tate talking to news reporters. By two news vans on the road, Cole's face scowls. Exterior roadside, Arkansas day. Cohle whistles with 2 fingers, waves the sheriff over. The sheriff takes his time.
We need as much of this bend sealed off as possible. Tell the journalists they're violating the scene.
They're in the road.
Get them out. You realize what we just caught here?
Realize it's my jurisdiction.
It was. But then you called us. I don't know how they got here so quick unless you called them feeling left out. But get those jackasses gone. They're parked on evidence.
Tate's face goes red, a staring contest, and he sees bad things in Cole's. The sheriff returns to the reporters. Interior, exterior, CID car, Arkansas highway, day. Hours later, toward evening, Cohle and Hart drive in their unmarked CID sedan, Hart behind the wheel. They pass vacant, prairie rolling hills, isolated farmhouses. Cohle goes through a stack of canvas reports and field statement forms on his lap, all filled with Cole's meticulous script, the day's work.
Well, that's 6 hours wasted.
Just that there's not much around here.
These people out here, like they got no idea the outside world exists. They might as well live on the moon.
You called her in a missing persons?
Yeah, first thing. You see what Dicillo says? Wait for ID.
I want to start a board.
Cohle nods, silence a while, and Hart glances at him.
Ask you something. That pentagram up there and stuff? You're a Christian, yeah?
What? Not on your life.
This confuses Hart.
Saw that crucifix in your apartment.
Oh, that's more like meditation.
Hart is knee-jerk offended at Cole's nonchalance about the Son of Man.
How's that?
I like to contemplate Christ's life as an existential statement, the idea of allowing your own crucifixion.
But you don't believe he's the Lord and Savior?
Not at all.
What do you believe?
Cohle glances at Hart with a tired expression, doesn't answer. It's clear he doesn't want to, but Hart keeps looking at him in expectation.
You don't want to know.
3 months. I got nothing out of you. And today, after what we're into now, do me the simple courtesy of answering the question. I'm not trying to convert you.
Cohle sighs.
In philosophical terms, I'm what's called a pessimist.
In philosophical terms, what's that mean?
It means I'm bad at parties.
Hart scowls at Cohle, prodding him on. Cohle continues, reluctant.
I think that human consciousness is a tragic evolutionary misstep. I think that nature fabricated an aspect of nature that's forever separated from it, a creature that by natural law should not exist.
Outside, the car passes a cheap old billboard with a woman's portrait on it and the legend 10-11-80. Do you know who killed me? Call 800-976-5236. Reward.
I think we are things that labor under the illusion of having a self, each of us programmed with total assurance that we're each a somebody, but everybody's nobody.
Cohle gets on a roll now.
See, we fabricate meaning in order to deny what we are so that we can keep on going. Family, God, country, art, these are the materials of our fabrications. We're uncanny puppets on a lonely planet in cold space, living and replicating and sending unborn generations into suffering and death because that's our programming.
Hart's eyes have gone wide with disbelief and frustration.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no thanks.
And Cole's a little enervated, as if you asked for it.
What I think, the only honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming, stop reproducing, and march hand in hand into extinction.
A beat where Cohle seems almost wistful.
A last sunset, cosmic midnight.
Hart's deeply offended, angry.
So what's the point of life, huh?
Well, there is no point. Nowhere to go, no one to see, nothing to do, nothing to be.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You bleeding idiot. Most of what you said in 3 months, and it's got to be, what's the matter with, why are you on the job anyway?
The really only answer is that it's obviously my programming, just like it's yours.
He looks out the window as he speaks, almost to himself.
The reason I tell myself I'm a human being. I speak for the dead. I bear witness. It keeps me part of things. But mostly I lack the courage for suicide. Look, if you want, I could lend you some Schopenhauer and start there.
Stop. Stop talking. Crap. Ugh.
Back to silence. As Hart grinds his teeth, Cohle stares out the window at the isolated fields and ramshackle homes, the electrical lines against the desolate valley, broken fences, several tense beats.
I get poor vibrations from this place. You can feel the psycho field in the air, like aluminum on your teeth.
Hart doesn't reply, drives on, disturbed, hoping Cohle won't talk anymore.
Should I bring anything for dinner?
Horrified to be reminded of the dinner invitation, Hart recomposes himself.
Bottle of wine be nice, I guess.
I don't really drink.
This is the final straw of disappointment from Hart.
Of course you don't, Rust. And listen, at my house, don't mention any of that crap you just said to me, you jerk. Extinction.
Of course not, Marty. I'm not a maniac. Jeez.
They drive in silence the rest of the way as Hart's 2010 voiceover resumes and the car passes down the road into the green hills.
I mean, most of us are pretty hard, right? You know, Christians, good Republicans. We had pictures of Reagan, Bush, and Nixon in the CID squad room. And at this point, no lie,
The car shrinks into the dark foothills that bound the country road, vanishing into a red darkness.
I just really, really don't like the guy.
Exterior Arkansas State Police Headquarters, Fort Smith, day. Establishing the state police headquarters in Fort Smith, a 4-story administrative building with flags out front, lots of patrol and unmarked cars, all late 80s Tauruses. Hart and the Cohles pull into the lot as the afternoon reddens towards sunset. Interior Arkansas State Police Headquarters, Fort Smith, day. CID is located on the 3rd floor, and Cohle and Hart enter. The division is a large open floor with cubicles, typewriters, and a receptionist. The few plainclothes detectives at their desks using the phones, a flag, slogan posters, no computers. The receptionist flags Cohle. Lieutenant wants you both. Soon as you got back, he told me. Cohle glances at Hart, who shrugs, walks away from him. Hart is quickly mobbed by the detectives in the room, all of whom want to know about the red ball, and he and Cohle have caught snatches of the conversation. Said she had wings, that heavy metal music, you need extra hands, a 2020 special, etc. Interior, Lieutenant Quesada's office, CID, late afternoon. A boss's office. Cohle and Hart are sitting in 2 chairs that face the desk, and behind it, Lieutenant Ken Quesada, 3rd Squad Homicide Commander, Company D, late 40s, chubby, wears a Knights of Columbus ring he likes to rub.
Mid-20s to late 40s. Looks like strangulation. She had, you've never even heard of anything like this.
She had wings attached to her back.
What, like a costume?
Like a real bird's wings. Big wings soldered onto her skin.
Jesus.
This is the real thing, Lou. This is way out there.
That explains why the AP woman asked me about birds and Satan worship. God damn it! I had to yell in the sheriff's ear now. How it's not a good idea to spout hysterical bullshit to local news. I chewed him up, but I might have to do a press conference tomorrow. Right now, keep it close. Get with me on Dicillo's report. I'm first to know when you get an ID.
It's hard to get a board going.
You got anything for it?
Hart shakes his head.
So do it anyway. Incident room's yours. Lead a briefing tomorrow. Tate wanted to Leigh as a couple men to us. We might need them. I guess seeing gonna stay secured.
Good it'll do. It's supposed to snow tonight.
A knock on the office window. A suit stands there, and Quesada nods to him. Cohle and Hart rise, but
Rust, stay here a minute, huh?
Cohle and Hart share a glance as Hart exits, and the suit enters. This is Assistant State Attorney Len Salter, 40, carries a briefcase and closes the door behind him, sits down in Hart's vacant chair. Cohle looks back and forth at the 2 men who study him openly. As they speak, they are each obviously probing and gauging his reactions.
Rustin Cohle, detective, 8 years with Baton Rouge PD, 4 of those with the state police agency task force, front lines in the war on drugs. Hard chargers took down some major busts. They called you Crash, right? I heard that too. Crash Cohle. They call you that because you bust things up?
It was a joke with the ITTF, short for crash test dummy.
Here now, they call you the banker.
A beat as the two bosses examine Cohle, whose eyes have gone hard, flinty.
Your OPD details are redacted. 4 years of duty sealed on the Louisiana AG's orders or classified with DEA. No details.
Quesada watches Cole's reaction, twists his KOFC ring. Cohle becomes indignant.
You realize what we just caught out there?
Rust, it's a few minutes.
Cohle twitches at Quesada's statement, as though the man's never used his first name before.
Few minutes won't make a difference. How's it working out for you here, detective? In CID?
Cohle shrugs, doesn't answer. Eye lock to Salter.
Rust, do something. See if you can guess why the ASA wanted to meet you. Why are we talking?
Cohle looks between the two men, studying their expressions.
In general, I'm not trusted because I moved in under the aegis of former Superintendent Willie and at the behest of the DEA. Maybe you got word about North Shore. I don't know. Half the guys think I haven't earned the shield, which is bullshit, by the way. Check my record with robbery.
A beat, as the two bosses are impressed by the precision of his analysis. Russ seems vaguely angered.
Beyond that, the department's concerned that I may have been inserted as part of an outside organization. Into what? Who knows? But given that the ASA is here, State Attorney Laughlin could be worried about something. So if Willie's out and at 3 months I'm still here, it's time to ask your questions.
See there, Len? I told you. All right, then, detective. Given your considerable ability to ascertain a situation, let's be frank. Why are you here?
I want to work murders. That's it. I had to get out of Louisiana. Special Agent Willis Bokum owed me a favor, more than one. I asked him for something like this. This is what he offered.
Our Kansas State Police thought, though, just like that.
I passed my forensics lab, aced practical homicide investigation.
Is this convincing, Ken?
Convincing for what? Is the idea that I'm secretly running a DEA op?
Quesada and Salter look between one another, then back to Cohle.
For Christ, I have no connections with any outside agency. My transfer was a favor owed. That's it.
They continue to study him, silent, and Cohle realizes the other question they've been sitting on.
S.A. Laughlin's running for governor, rumor has it. Your big question is, am I able to provide any kind of information about potential or ongoing Fed investigations? Can I keep in the loop, make sure state gets its credit if the Feds pull down any winners? A bump around election season. You're asking me about leverage.
Quesada and Salter look to one another, grins.
I want to work murders. That's all I can do.
Interior interrogation room day. Rustin Cohle, 51, facing the camera, smoking yet another cigarette, as if in answer to a question.
North Shore Psychiatric Hospital in Slidell. I spent 4 months there in '88.
Cohle smokes a few beats, lets his interviewers digest this knowledge. Interior Arkansas State Police Headquarters, CID, night. Cohle exits Quesada's office, frustrated, on edge. He looks around at the squad room. Besides Hart, there are 4 other detectives there. Dema, Lutz, Garassi, and Hayes, all white, late 30s or 40s. The other detectives eyeball Cohle with no love.
Anyway, I get out of Quesada's office. Marty's got a board going and he's already typing our DL. And like I said before, I'm feeling a lot of stuff hit me at once. My daughter's birthday, this murder. I'm a stranger to myself, man, and I want to drink. Figured to work the case. Kept me out of the house while we wait on Dicillo's report and ID to come in.
Angle on Hart typing up the partner's daily log. Cohle notices the dry erase board up at the head of the room with headings that read canvas reports, timeline, background, all blank underneath. Cohle walks swiftly to Hart's desk.
Hey, you mind if I skate? I'm going to get some names from Vice, local Prost hangouts, ask around about our DB.
You want me to come?
Nah, it's just something to do. Go be with your family.
Hart nods without warmth, goes back to typing. Cohle walks out of the squad room like he's making a jailbreak. Interior interrogation room day. Cohle, 51, speaking to the camera. His mood has become less belligerent, more open, as if in recounting these memories, he's discovered a kind of release through the telling.
At the time, I kind of struggled with my nights. I mean, I didn't sleep, ever.
Cohle stares at the camera, and by his eyes, we believe this claim. Interior exterior, Cole's truck, roads, night. Rustin Cohle drives his mid-80s Ford Ranger north on Highway 71 towards Fayetteville, Springdale, and Rogers. As he drives, he smokes. He opens a bottle of Robitussin and guzzles the whole thing, grimaces, tosses the bottle out the window. His eyes are furious. Audio prelap, sounds of brakes squealing, tires spinning. Exterior suburban street, day. Flashback, Rustin Cohle, 26, runs into the street, a look of pure terror on his face, a toddler's three-wheeler bent and twisted at the edge of the frame. Behind him, his wife drops to her knees, screaming, blood on the road around the bike. Interior exterior, Cole's truck, roads, night. Cohle driving, smoking, a 2010 voiceover.
State Vice gave me some addresses to look at. So far, nobody talked to me.
Exterior, Jet 24, truck stop, Arkansas, night. Establishing, partially obscured by the interstate, black country darkness around it. The truck stop's lights sparkle out the night. Its lot full of big rigs, a well-lit depression of heavy machinery. It could be a mining outpost on a distant asteroid. Cole's truck pulls in. Notice a small bar called Jenny O's, adjacent to the truck stop in the same oasis. Cohle parks, watches the place. He finds George Strait on the radio. He stops loving her today. Cohle watches a woman climb out of a cab of a parked truck, wiping her mouth. He sees another woman climb from another truck, and then watches both of the women walk into Jenny O's. Notice, with Cohle, a small playground area off to the side of the truck stop. It slides and swings, look lonely in the darkness. Sound effects, a child's delighted laughter. An aerial hallucination. Cohle wipes tears from out of his eyes, shuts off the truck, and starts walking toward Jenny O's. Interior Hart home, night. Martin Hart, 36, enters a darkened house, obviously late at night. He shuffles to the kitchen, pours a tall glass of Jameson, and a sloppiness in his gesture suggests this is not his first drink of the night. He walks to the hallway, sipping his drink, still wearing his trench coat, which perhaps overtly suggests his role as an investigator. He pauses in the doorway of his girls' room. Martin's POV watching his two girls sleep in the blue darkness. On his face, sipping his drink, something unsettled in his gaze, perhaps connected to the woman's body found that day, perhaps connected to Rust's philosophies. Interior living room, Hart home, late night. Hart has a fresh drink and is looking through the slim contents of a bookcase. He picks out the one he was looking for, National Audubon Society Field Guide to the Southeastern States. He takes a drink and book to the armchair, starts reading under the lamplight. A lonely image, a man drinking alone in the dark, studying the detritus of murder. Interior Jenny O's Tavern, Arkansas, late night. A smoky, cramped bar, truckers inside, hard-worn men watching basketball on television, scrapes of neon, tinsel, Razorbacks football posters. Notice the two women Cohle saw exiting the big rigs, now seated together at a narrow table in a back corner. One or two other women, similarly hard-worn, are scattered inside. Angle on Cohle, approaching the back corner table. He smiles and addresses the women, one thin and blonde, the other pear-shaped, a brunette.
Ladies,
Oh, come on, man.
I was hoping I could ask y'all a few questions. I got the next round.
You making trouble, sir?
No, ma'am. I'm just looking for info about a woman. Might be you know her.
Oh, who's that? Yeah, hold on.
The blonde, Lucy, 20s, upends her beer, draining it. She slides the empty pint glass to Cohle, includes the brunette, Annette, in her gesture.
2 Long Island teas, please.
Interior Jenny O's Tavern, Arkansas, late night. Angle on Cole's returning to the table with 2 large drinks.
My name's Rust, by the way.
I'm Annette. She's Lucy.
Lucy shoots her daggers for saying names. Cole sits down as they each start drinking.
Either of you know maybe a woman who could be about your ages, might work about the same places, about 5'5", shortish hair, dyed blonde, thin.
What kind of tits she have?
Just about medium, I guess. Maybe a little small.
Geez, I don't know. I mean, I know a couple girls like that.
Any of them missing? Like, you haven't seen around lately?
What you want them for? You busting somebody?
I would never bust a person for prostitution or drugs.
At the word drugs, Lucy's eyes dart to her purse and Cole clocks the tell.
I'm murder police.
Somebody got killed. Oh, there's a girl named Liza, and one calls herself Precious. But I seen Precious yesterday at McDonald's.
What about Liza?
Oh, she's here.
Lucy points across the bar to a thin, haggard blonde chatting up a trucker.
And what happened? This girl you're looking for.
Russ studies the truckers along the bar, their faces clearly pondering the possibility of the killer being a trucker. He turns back to the women, stands, and hands them each a business card.
That's me, Detective Sergeant. You help me out of this, maybe I can help you sometime. I'm looking for a girl that by that description should have been missing a couple days at least.
He hands Annette a $10 bill.
Could you grab a couple more drinks, Annette?
She glances to Lucy, who nods, and then walks over to the bar. Cole leans toward Lucy, hushed.
You get frills pretty.
Lucy's face twists in panic.
Relax. I want some.
Speed?
No. Quaalude. Anything barbital.
Oh, uppers are easier to get. Last longer, too.
It's not like that.
What's it like?
I don't sleep.
On Lucy's face, confused. Interior living room, Hart home, early morning. The following morning, pale pink and blue light flushes the windows. Martin Hart sleeps in t-shirt and work slacks on the recliner. The Audubon guide open on his chest, an empty glass turned over on the carpet beside the chair. Angle on Maggie Hart, 35, entering the living room from the hallway, still wearing Martin's old football jersey, which she sleeps in. She goes to the kitchen nook, starts coffee. As she waits for it to brew, she watches her husband, a sadness in her eyes. She moves to him, nudges him awake.
Hey, Beretta.
Hart's eyes flutter, and he shoots up in the chair as if in the middle of a nightmare.
Hey, what are you out here? Why didn't you come to bed?
He's still groggy, coming out of sleep, and doesn't pick up on her dejection.
I couldn't sleep. Caught a bad one yesterday. I fell asleep doing some research.
On birds?
Her eyes search for his. He simply nods.
Oh, girls will be up soon. Missed you the last couple of days.
Shoot, I got a shower. I'm debriefing today.
He jumps out of the chair, gives Maggie a peck on the cheek, and walks down the hallway. On Maggie, trying not to be hurt, trying to understand by now that it's not personal, that her husband's job changes people. He moves back to the kitchen and begins preparing breakfast. Interior Arkansas Police Headquarters, CID, morning. Following Hart as he enters CID, nods to the receptionist. 3 other detectives milling around the coffee pot. They nod hellos. Hart reaches his cubicle and sees Cohle across from him. has already arrived, bags under his eyes.
R&I came back early this morning. Dora Kelly Lange, 23. Price for shoplifting and, can you believe it, solicitation.
Little early for your sort of self-satisfaction.
I've never been satisfied with myself, Marty.
I got something too.
He pulls the Audubon guide from his jacket.
I think the wings were Cathartes aura. That's a turkey vulture, son.
A big one.
He hands Ling's file to Hart, who begins perusing it.
Her address lists as Fayetteville, but the landlord says she hasn't lived there in over a year. Has an ex, Charlie Lange, doing 8 in Pine Bluff for burglary and possession. Mother outside of Rogers. Lines disconnected. DMV license expired.
What else?
Dicillo called.
Immediately grabs Hart's attention. Interior morgue, coroner's office, morning. Inside an autopsy room, standard issue, tiled walls and floor, steel tables, surgical equipment, sinks, etc. Cohle and Hart stand with Gordon Dicillo, all facing 2 tables. On one table lies the woman's body, clean and intact except for the wide incision. On the other table sits the wings positioned as they were on her back and the crown of roots. Dicillo reads from his report inside the manila folder thick with papers.
So R and I get you anything?
Her name is Dora Lange. She's 28.
Dicillo looks through his papers. As he reads, notice the separate reactions of each of the detectives. Hart more visibly wears his emotions, not looking at the body, his face flexing with rage as he listens. Cohle stares at the body, following along with Dicillo's descriptions, his face cold, intense.
Weather in the forest treated us pretty well. Time of death between 1 and 2 a.m., March 3rd, 1988. COD was manual strangulation, finger nail marks and hemorrhaging around the throat, fractured hyoid and presence of thyroid cartilage. Petechial hemorrhaging. She was washed clean too. Not a print. Ligature marks around her wrists and ankles, bound with 1/4-inch rope. And judging by the marks, she was tied up for maybe 10 to 20 hours.
Cohle moves closer to the table, begins slowly walking around it, eyes devouring.
And evidence of vaginal and anal intercourse appears consensual. Traces of spermicidal lubricant. He used a condom.
Surprising.
Why?
I figured him for impotent.
Possible object insertion as well.
Each man has something like a personal moment of silence. This entire scene is intense, sad, and emblematic of the detective's role in the life of his species.
She was bound up upright.
Stomach contents?
Hadn't eaten in a day, maybe more. Toxicology's positive for cocaine. Lysergic acid and diazepam.
Valium?
And LSD.
Might be enough to put even you down a rabbit hole, Detective Cohle.
Dicillo hinting that he's heard stories.
Listen in my ear a little more, Gordon. Let's kill some more time.
How much LSD?
Maybe a couple thousand micrograms. You know how much that is?
Enough to see dancing bears for a few weeks.
It's a lot.
And if she didn't know she'd taken it, it'd be like a hell's carnival.
So she was drugged, bound, and strangled, and left out there like that, posed.
What about the wings?
Turkey vulture?
That's right. 3 or 4 years old, an adult male. The wings were taxidermied, held together with wire, rubber cement, clear epoxy spray. They were removed with a sharp, straight blade, maybe a box cutter, held onto her with thermoplastic adhesive and industrial hot glue, a lot of it, burned through the top layers of her skin.
She alive for that?
All three men look at one another.
I really can't say. Her fingernails are cracked, but the only blood is hers, found fiberboard splinters in the scrapings you took.
Like she tried to scratch through a door, tripping, locked up somewhere.
Cohle looks at her face. Not exactly pretty, but once cute. Somehow malnourished, obviously poor. Hart moves to the table with the wings and crown.
The crown, for want of a better word, switchgrass, ivy, and rose stems, tied together with common twine, no prints.
The men stand there, almost breathless after this cataloging.
Anything else?
Dicillo shakes his head.
I've been an ME for 19 years, not a lot you don't see in that time.
He hands Hart the report and doesn't let go of it right away, so that they both grip it, and their eyes meet, as though Dicillo is tasking him to find justice. Exterior coroner's office, Fort Smith, Arkansas day. Cohle and Hart step out of the office, both badly needing fresh air. The building is old brick and limestone cube, and around it are the tatters of an abandoned commercial neighborhood. They each walk several feet away from the entrance, then stand and, in a mental sense, catch their breath.
All this trouble. This is real personal.
No, not personal. The enactment was the thing, not the victim.
You know this, how?
This isn't an opportunity killing. It's a fetish enactment. In a way, it's almost impersonal.
Cohle and Hart start walking back to their car, passing a small strip of stores with broken windows, cardboard patches, kudzu and ivy growing wildly over everything, high grass breaking through the sidewalks.
It's like walking in someone's memory of a small town, and the memory's fading. It just turns out there was never really anything there but jungle.
Hart stops walking.
What?
I want you to stop saying stuff like that. It's unprofessional.
You want me to be someone else?
I want you to stop saying odd stuff. Like when you sense a psycho field or whatever, or that you're walking in somebody's memory.
Well, Marty, given how long it's taken me to understand and reconcile my own nature, I can't hardly imagine I'd forgo it on your count.
The two men stare at each other, the potential for violence humming in the air, placed there by the horror they just toured. That is, unable to discuss feelings, both men veer toward anger. Then, as if remembering their actual purpose, they deflate. They reach the car and open the doors.
You get any sleep last night?
I don't sleep. I just dream.
They get in. Interior interrogation room day. Back to 2010, Martin Hart addressing us across the table.
Oh, that dinner, what I started to, yeah, that was later. Well, I thought the flowers were funny. I guess he'd read somewhere you should bring flowers when somebody invites you to dinner.
He pauses, remembering, almost annoyed.
I told him to bring wine, and him having told me he don't drink, showing up in that condition.
Exterior black back deck, Hart home, night. Continuing the opening dinner scene, Hart and Cohle now stand on Hart's back deck. Hart drinking a beer, and Cohle smokes, holding a cup of coffee. We can see inside through the doors into the kitchen where Hart's wife Maggie and his two girls set the table.
What the hell? I invite you over to dinner once. You can barely stand up. You don't drink with me or Dimma or Lutz after work, but you gotta get a load on before you visit my family.
Cohle shakes his head, slugs coffee, and sucks a cigarette like it contains the antidote, his voice a little slurred.
It wasn't like that, Marty. I didn't mean to. I don't drink because it's given me problems before. Yeah? Nothing we need to discuss. I didn't mean to have so many.
Hart waits for the explanation, still insulted.
I was checking on a CI. She was late. I ended up hanging around a bar for about an hour. I was sitting there and really couldn't think of a good reason not to have one. Usually I can.
Hart looks him over. He slaps Cole's shoulder, relieved at this show of fallibility, humanity from Cohle. Fallibility.
Don't worry about it. Have some more coffee. Try to make 10 minutes of conversation. I'll call Chris or somebody and have them call up here for you. Say one of your old cases caught a break.
I'm sorry.
Forget it. We'll do it another time.
Cohle puts out his cigarette and Hart lets him walk in first. Hart watches him with apprehension. Interior Hart home night. A short time later, dinner with the Hart family. Everyone at the table now, Cohle still rumpled, drinking coffee and looking at least a little more sober. Macie and Audrey pick their food while making faces at one another. Hart cuts his steak quietly, letting Maggie carry the conversation.
I said, your life's in this man's hands. Am I wrong? Of course he should meet the family.
It's not that dramatic. Never used my gun.
Have you used your gun?
Cohle pauses, looks at the table and the girls who turn their attention to him.
Yeah.
Have you shot people? Macie, well, Daddy's never shot anybody.
That's good. You don't want to have to shoot people.
But you have, huh?
A beat as Cohle considers lying.
Yeah.
Marty says you're from Louisiana.
Southwest Louisiana. Yeah. But I was working in Texas too before here.
What kind of work?
Narcotics, mostly. I was on a robbery squad in Baton Rouge till 85.
At the word narcotics, Hart's eyes jump to Cole's arm, where he's rolled his sleeves, depicts the edge of a flame and dice tattoo. In the house, the phone rings.
I'll get it. Keep eating.
He rises. Interior bedroom, Hart house night. Hart stands beside he and Maggie's bed, talking on the phone that rests on the nightstand.
Thanks for calling. He'll appreciate it. Then I appreciate it.
Hart sets the phone on a pillow. Follow as he walks down the short hallway back to the dining area adjoining the kitchen. He pauses a moment as he sees Maggie and Cohle talking between one another with lowered voices. As he approaches, he can hear Cole's hushed voice.
In the street. We didn't last long after that. Transferred to narco 24/7.
When Hart reaches the table, Cohle stops talking, and Hart sees that his eyes are a little wet.
Chris Dimma's on the phone for you. Something about one of your opens?
Cohle nods, excuses himself, and walks through the back bedroom. Hart notices that Maggie seems newly quiet, suddenly sad.
What was that? What were you talking about?
Well, how he got here, Marty. What do you know about him?
Not much. Could be a good detective. He's running with a new one.
She dabs her eyes with her napkin, emotionally affected by something.
You notice how he looks like he lost his wife? his dog and his best friend all on the same day?
Hart shrugs.
You ever ask him about that?
Baby, trust me, you do not want to pick this guy's brain.
Cohle reappears, and they both turn abruptly.
You need to go?
Nah, it's nothing that can't wait.
Hart is slightly taken aback by this. Cole's not going through with his escape plan, but instead sits back down to finish his meal.
You were saying, Rust, about the marriage?
You know, we can find something nicer to talk about. Marty, I saw your tying table. You fly fish?
Little bit.
Marty doesn't respond further. Bothered, shovels food in his mouth. Interior interrogation room day. Martin Hart, 56.
I don't know why I resented it. Maybe I didn't like that he stayed when he could have left in all politeness. Or I resented that Maggie was getting him to talk so much.
Some point of recollection catches him, and he digresses slightly. Interior Hart home night. At the dinner table, Hart eats in silence while Cohle and Maggie talk, and the girls laugh with one another. The only dialogue, Hart's 2010 voiceover.
She did love to talk, loved sitting around a table, gabbing. Everybody in her family did. I wasn't much for that, never had been, but especially when I'm off work.
Cohle says something and Maggie laughs.
One of those consequences of the job, huh? Silence, monotony. Those were the friends of my home.
Interior interrogation room day. Martin Hart, 56.
So why am I telling you about dinner? We ought to talk about Dora Lange, huh?
We stay on Martin Hart's face as it suspiciously studies the camera. Interior incident room, CID headquarters, Arkansas day. Hart and Chloe stand in front of a room of 10 other detectives with Lieutenant Quesada standing to their right, a large dry erase board between them. Squad debrief. Quesada holds up a copy of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Its headline, Angel Murdered in Pines of Benton. Cohle has tacked on the board several of the ME's photos from the scene. Hart writes on the name, Dora Lange, across the top of the board.
She looked like an angel to any of you guys?
No one answers, but the eye of Cohle enough that he steps back.
This is what we have right now.
The detectives listen. Interior interrogation room day. Martin Hart, 56, speaking in response to his interviewer.
Me? I joined in 75 when I was 24, BA in criminal justice from U of R, one semester of law school.
He looks over his big knuckles, his college ring.
Wasn't for me, desks. I was always an athlete, see? And I think that's the key to something. Like it has to do with the need to not be stable. Same sort of thing maybe makes someone right for certain sports. That urge to run out front.
Reflecting, he shrugs, not really caring to analyze himself too deeply.
I wanted action. I wanted to be there at the places behind our lives. I wanted to walk past the yellow tape and to protect, do good. Same stuff that led to me opening up the agency after I took my pension. Why, I doubt I'll ever stop.
Almost congratulating himself.
I just need to be out there, making moves, digging. It's what Rust called the narcotic of knowing.
A long pause, where it appears Hart is receiving a question.
Met Margaret my senior year. She was a freshman, 18 and straight off the tree. Small with freckled skin. A big pile of thick black hair, green eyes, Irish. Nice butt, tits like softballs. I'll say it. We should celebrate those memories if we got them, yeah?
His tone drops a little.
Gets difficult to remember her like that, like back then. I thought Audrey or Macie would look like her as they grew. But they look like me. I don't even have pictures of Maggie from back then. Burned them all one night. Crap hammer. Wish I hadn't done that now.
He straightens, dispels the nostalgia, and speaks directly.
Anyway, we were married for 25 years. And for the last 14, I worked with Rust Cohle. I mean, that long a time, that relationship becomes lots of different things, different incarnations. Russ changed a lot back and forth. We both did. And yeah, we left it bad. But, you know, I can say this. He was a great detective. Things I saw Russ do.
A beat. Oddly, he grins.
Look, I try not to hold grudges. I believe that kind of thinking can lead to cancer.
Interior Incident Room, CID Headquarters, Arkansas Day. The long briefing obviously ended. Hart is giving assignments to the detectives who aren't otherwise occupied. As he says their names, they move out. Notice who's who among them. While he talks, Cohle hands out the flyers with Dora's old mugshot and a list of her known associates.
Lutz and Favre, you get to do the hooker questioning.
Lutz and Favre groan.
Demma, Gerasi, if you guys can talk to old neighbors, the former landlord. Emmett, Will, you guys can free float, work with your CIs, take a flyer around to the truck stops, cross routes, visits with the Springfield cops who busted her in '87.
Sure you guys got enough to do?
I'll put some troopers checking Northwest crime reports for flashing and fetish burglaries. Anything with a lust component going back 10 years. You want that?
Thomas is silent, resentful.
We're going to start with her ex-husband, Pine Bluff State Pan. We're handling her mom and her ex, but find some KAs. Everybody check back at 5, yeah? You get anything? Put it on the board.
The detectives disperse. Quesada nods approvingly to Hart, ignores Cohle, and walks to his office.
Ready?
What was that about with Quesada yesterday?
Nothing. State attorney just thought I had flex, which I don't. Come on, let's hit it.
Hart follows Cohle to the exit, suspicious and further unsure of his partner. Exterior Arkansas Highway Day. The unmarked CID car travels southeast along the I-40, traveling through foothills, forest lakes, natural beauty, all frosted with the last vestige of clingy winter. Notice rising above the trees the enormous fusion towers of Arkansas Nuclear One, a nuclear plant in the middle of otherwise picturesque surroundings. The car seems to take forever to pass the structure. It's so immense.
So, dinner next week?
Yeah.
More silence as the shadow of the nuke towers pass.
How many of those things you think the Russians got?
I don't know.
I'll have to look that up.
Hart, tenser, remains silent. And we are reminded that we're barely out of the Cold War at this point. Cohle stares out the windows. The car passes a little girl standing by the side of the road. She waves to the men.
You believe in ghosts?
That's it. Stop. Just stop. Please, please don't talk anymore till we get there. Turn on the radio or something. It's yours.
Cohle doesn't react to this, doesn't even turn from the window.
Why'd you ask that?
No reason.
Cohle keeps staring out the window as the car accelerates out of frame. Exterior Pine Bluff Penitentiary afternoon. Establishing an imposing concrete prison, its walls flat and foreboding, a fortress. Follow the detective's car as the gates part for it, and it seems diminished against the high walls and battlements. Angle on Cohle and Hart exiting the car, looking up at the main prison in such a way that it seems impossibly large. And they pause as if standing before their own futures. Then they start walking toward it. Interior Pine Bluff Penitentiary afternoon, a visiting room. Guard posted by the door. Cohle and Hart sit at the table, across from which is Charlie Lange, head shaved, in orange prison jumpsuit, Aryan tattoos curling up beyond his sleeves and neckline. He's thin, hollow-eyed.
We want to talk about your ex-wife, Dora.
Lange is put off by the topic.
Man, what she said I done now. Can't get away from the bitch for nothing.
You know what she's up to nowadays? Where's she living?
Nope, she got papers pushed through and they locked me in here. Ain't heard from her, probably smoking pole for rent.
As they talk, the detective scrutinized Lange's face for any cues of obfuscation. Notice the visual echoes of Hart and Cole's own interrogations 20 years later.
She got any drug habits you know of?
She had a couple last I saw.
How'd you two meet?
We grew up in the same parts. Didn't we? Mina dropped out high school together, hitched up.
What happened?
Man, what always happens? Men and women, yeah? You want a wife, but only about half the time.
I hear you, Charlie. Let me ask you something. If you're telling us you haven't talked to Dora since the divorce, why do prison phone records show a different story?
A gutsy bluff on Cole's part, having read something in Lange's bearing, and now he's unsettled.
That's right. Talked to her a little bit a couple weeks back. I was trying to get her to float me some scratch. My store was empty.
What did she say?
I don't know. She wasn't no help. Sounded nonsense. Jabber, man. Y'all asking me a lot of questions. What I got? Get
A healthy endorsement to the parole board.
ain't worth a snitch jacket.
Who are you snitching on?
Appearances, brah.
Give me a break. This is Pine Bluff. It's a friggin' day camp. Spent some time in Angola or Huntsville. I'm surprised they even got Aryan Nation in here.
Where was she staying when you called her?
Had a number for her friend, Carla. Carla got her to call me back.
Hart takes out a small notepad and pen.
Carla's full name and phone number.
He passes the pad to Lange, who writes awkwardly, slides it in back.
I don't know her full name. Works at the Kanoko.
You said Dora was talking nonsense or something?
Yeah, just stupid shit. Didn't even make sense. Pissed me off. Like how I'm going to talk to you. You this in the bag, right?
What did she say? Seriously.
Shit. Crank talk, like talking she'd been saved and she wanted me to be saved. Said some slurred, I don't know, it didn't make sense.
Cole and Hart glance at one another.
Let me ask you this. You know where her mama lives? Is she still in Rogers?
Far as I know.
You got a phone number?
Miss Bernie don't use no phone.
Where she live? In Rogers?
Sycamore Street. Lest she died. Say, look, what'd Dory do? She in trouble? A girl could use a stay in here. Ask me.
In 87, she's busted for soliciting.
Got thrown out. Acquitted.
You pimped for her, Charlie?
Charlie is proud when he lies.
Nah, man.
You ran scams together, yeah? What else two heads gonna do?
Try this. Is she still tricking, far as you know?
Maybe, I don't know. Listen, couple weeks ago's the first time I talked to her more in a year, and she's gone batshit. All I know is what's up, y'all. What'd she do?
Hart and Cohle look at Lange, whose expression says he's starting to figure out why they're here. Lange begins to sink into that realization. Interior interrogation room day. Weston Cohle, 51, looking like he's ready to leave in the middle of speaking to his interviewers.
Why not? This isn't official. You all asked to pick my brains. This isn't evidence. You ever work a room? You ever buy a suspect a cheeseburger and a Coke?
He pauses for an answer, indicates he's looking between two people.
Great. Take $5 and have somebody go out and grab me a 6-pack. Pabst or Lone Star is fine. Nothing fancy.
Another pause as he receives a question.
Because it's Thursday and it's past noon. Thursday's one of my off days. On my off days, I start drinking at noon.
He looks very serious, and as though this were a life and death matter. Jump cut, as though on a badly spliced video. Interior interrogation room day. A few minutes later, Cohle has a 6-pack of Pabst in front of him, along with an ash mug and cigarettes. He pops a can and guzzles half of it with relish, lights a cigarette.
Thank you, boys. Thank you. Now maybe we can get to brass tacks, because I know why I'm here.
He sits back a little and drags on the cigarette.
It started again, hasn't it? The killing, him. And how can that be possible when we got the bastard in 2000?
He sips the beer, smokes.
How indeed, gentlemen. How indeed.
Closing on Cole's eyes, haunted, intense. As he drinks, hits his cigarette, stares into the camera. Black. The end. All right, good job, everyone. Wow, that is a different one, different than we've read before. We will talk about it, but before we do, I think it's time for everyone to take a little intermission, go to the restroom, get some water, if you guys
And
need
if I
it.
disrespected the South, I'm sorry. I totally made that Southern accent up on the spot after thinking of a few different things I could do.
That's what I
And
was
no, I
trying to do
didn't have a
too.
voice. I didn't have a voice changer on my mic. That came entirely from my throat.
That's what I was trying to do too.
Nice. And if I disrespected people that know how to read by my butchering the words, I apologize. Just kidding. So, but all right, bathroom break and drink break, and we'll be back in 5 minutes for those that can talk about it for a little while. All right, you guys, I'm back. We can get started and they can join. Do you guys have any initial thoughts? I mean, go ahead. Obviously, it's part of a series. It's an episode. It didn't get too much into it, and it's different. And like I said, a lot we've read. I'll start off with just a couple script things. Like for your character, I think Cohle or whatever. You see how it switched from the names. It switched from Russ to Cohle for the same character.
Yeah.
Did you find that confusing at all? Like I could see how like a screenwriter might do it and they're familiar with the character, so they switch it, but they didn't seem any rhyme or reason to it, right? It's just, or did you pick up on it?
Yeah, it seemed like I don't know. It seemed like there's something that they should have brought attention to it if there was a reason for it. It just seemed like a glitch.
Yeah, like just accidental human error.
Right.
Yeah. When this was first cast, it was not the show, but Table Read Tuesday. Those were cast as two separate characters at first, until we look closer and go, "Oh, it's the same character." Let's make sure we pick who has it, because
Right.
Yeah, what's up, Heather?
It sort of reminds me of my script last week where it opens in on an event where we have no idea what precedes the event.
Mm-hmm. I like when that happens often on a show or a movie or something.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And the way the characters are behaving, it also makes me wonder if one of them is a killer. There's this movie, I don't know if it's like a Mormon movie, it's called Brigham City, where one of these cops literally tries to get his partner, the town sheriff, to see the real world, and funny things happen.
All right.
But again, it just really it reminds me of my script that we don't really know what happens previous to the events. So
it's a very good way to get your audience immediately involved, though. You want to have a sense of wonder as what's going to happen next, but it's even better if you can get people to wonder about what's the history here.
Well, why are these guys, why are these interviews going on? Did something happen to?
Yeah.
Good question.
Somebody died, but why are they so intensely focused on this one detective too?
Yeah. And with mentioning the interviews and the other scene, like, how do you guys feel about how they went back and forth between time to like 2010 and then whatever year the other things were?
Well, did that one guy kill his kid?
My take on it was closer to what Ari said in the chat. Like, I thought that the kid died in front of him and his wife, like got hit by a car, like was out there on the tricycle. I didn't think that he was responsible.
Maybe he backed over the kid by accident or something. That's why he's walking away all shell-shocked.
I didn't specify one or the other, but that's possible. It wasn't my take on it. But how about you guys?
Yeah.
What was your perception? How did you take it?
Oh no. We'll have to wait until episode 10 to find out. I guess they can always pull a switcheroo, where it looks like one thing very plainly, but then they show a different angle at the end and it's something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought they did a pretty good job of like showing how distinctly different the characters are. So
yeah.
I guess yeah. Okay.
Now that we've done it, I can totally see Matthew McConaughey in that role.
Okay.
Because he's so laid back, in most of his stuff, and Cohle at least in this episode, he's closed off. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's kind of the same thing. Nothing really gets your blood up very often, if you're laid back or if you're closed off. So you can play it pretty similar, I feel like.
And you mentioned Woody Harrelson. Was he Hart?
Yeah. the character Heather played that Clint was going to play.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You didn't shave your head though, Heather. So
No, I've got
No.
too much hair to want to shave it. I've got too much
It's
hair.
nice. It's easy to maintain. No commitment to the craft. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but Jacob, I've spent so long growing out my hair.
I know. If I could have hair like you, I probably would keep mine too.
when did that come out? It's not, wasn't that
forget.
long ago, was it?
What do we consider long ago? Does anyone know
No,
if it's
only got 3 seasons, so I guess it doesn't mean that much anymore, but
some of the go ahead.
nothing.
Some of the script almost felt like they wrote it after that it was filmed, like the way they were describing some of what the car was doing or looking up at stuff. I wonder if like it was almost like a transcribe of it, like maybe
Well,
not.
you mean they
but-
wanted to see how it looked before they wrote it in?
No, I mean like as if it was written, but then it was filmed and they're like, oh, let's update the script to this. Now they might
Yeah.
not have done that, but some of it almost felt that way. And this one did seem very, very descriptive. Did you guys like what people would call more flowery writing, which lots of times they say not to do, like that's for novel writing, not script writing. But
Right.
how did you guys feel about it?
Yeah, there was a lot of specific descriptors in it. I mean, more than I think that I would see in a more modern script. But you know, that makes me wonder because I didn't watch the whole episode. It's on HBO right now, or Max, and they changed a few details, obviously. So I wonder if this is not. So the show that I've gotten scripts for the last few shows I worked on. I was on crew, and you know, they go through revisions all even if you're done filming. Well, okay. The shows I've worked on, they film in blocks and they kind of end up filming them out of order because of location reasons, right? So you might be filming parts of episode 1 for 5 months, you know, or something like that. So almost all the last show I worked on, we were getting script revisions for the first few episodes up until the end of the show, pretty much. And that's partly because they'll change stuff on the fly and then they'll have to go write it into, like you were just saying, you know, well, we filmed it this way, so now we got to make the script match it. So some of it was that, you know, but then anyway, so this script that we read today, was it, Jacob, do you know? I mean, that might have not been the first version. It might have been some of the middle revisions or something like that, right?
I don't know. And sometimes they mention it on the cover page, but this one does not.
Yeah, it didn't say.
You know, the whole way the crime scene investigation was actually written, even the court, like, you know, CSI, the old CSI, not this new thing. I haven't seen the new thing, but you know, they have a crime board, like Grissom had a crime board where he'd put all the stages and how he investigates and the theories and everything. And like the coroner, when they study the body and all that, that was very accurate. Because like, you know, in CSI Miami, I don't know if any of you have seen that, like CSI Miami, Alex literally talked to the body and explained it to Horatio. And I don't know if any of y'all have seen that.
Not a lot of them, honestly.
Yeah, not much either.
Oh, y'all, you got to see those shows. Seriously. But it was very accurate in terms of a crime scene investigation show.
I used to watch those.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm going to look up while you guys continue talking to is like if this writer was also the director, because there's a lot of other things too. It says angle on the black miniskirt. Like, so that's a very kind of
Yeah.
specific camera direction and different things.
Yeah, that makes
too.
you think, doesn't it?
And it did seem like it gave some descriptions as well that weren't not necessarily something that was visible.
Yeah.
Well, basically, I think she was a prostitute kidnapped and all dollied up to look like an angel.
Mhm.
Yeah, from a writing perspective, I just remembered something that I've heard is that when you screenwrite, you just generally, I mean, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think generally you don't write something that's not filmable in a screenplay, right? In other words, you don't put a lot of you're going to put direction, right? Like if he's talking to this person as opposed to this person, or they're moving through a scene or something like that. But generally you don't really put a lot of stuff on the page that's not filmable, right?
That is what we're told. But from reading these scripts over the past year and a half, doesn't seem the case with a lot of professional scripts. A lot of the scripts that get made and a lot of scripts that are professional, we have seen there's a lot of that in most of them. So at least half of them have quite a bit of that, it seems. What do you guys think? Do you guys recall from all that we've read? Just more than I expected.
Certain scripts have to have visual elements to them. There's some things that can't be described through like dialogue.
Oh no, absolutely any visual, and that's what the kind of opposite of what we're saying. Like visual stuff, totally put it in there. There's a thing about how much to put in there, but what we're saying is like the thought or things that can't be filmed or things,
I can't think of a great example from this script right now, which I guess means that they did it. It was just fine, because if there's a limited amount of it, then that's okay. It's just not something that is generally done. I'm trying to find a good example. I thought of one in the middle of the read, but that was a while ago. So,
and I looked it up. The director was somebody different, so not same writer director.
Yeah, they might have been a director on something else, right? Or that's kind of what, I thought the same thing as you did.
That's also made me think, was it written after, but also maybe just thinks like a director, so sees it in their head, so writes it that way. Another thing on it, I don't know if I pronounced it right, but the Chiron, the typed, there's it seems like now I want to look up this writer and see if they've been a professional writer for many, many, many years, because that's the way it used to always be said when you have, and I don't even remember the way it's said now, but like superimposed text on the screen. Like that's the way it used to be said, because I think that's maybe the process or the something.
Yeah.
I learned it once and forgot most of it, but.
Oh, there's, I really like the, let's see, I think this is what, page 27.
I'll share the screen and go there. So unless you want to.
Where, let's see, he's heading towards the bar. It's a truck stop. Bottom of page 26, actually. This is something I like that sounded more like very directory. I thought it was. It's the very last paragraph where it says he's watching women go into the bar, and then it says, "Notice with Cohle, a small playground area." And in my mind, that's like where we're walking in with Cohle, and then he looks over. At the same time he looks over, then the camera looks over too. So we, the audience, we're noticing it with him. We're not seeing him notice it, but we're looking over it at the same time he does. And I thought that was it was written very well for this scene. That seemed to be more like a camera direction kind of a thing, but it's sparse and it works really well. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's written. Another thing on the same page that I haven't seen before is just the I there for interior exterior. I've seen interior exterior, but I usually the INT as well, not that by itself.
I think they use that in this script at least, pretty much just for the driving stuff. Because it's there on twice on that page.
Yeah, which makes sense because they'll know that they'll have shots of the car from the outside and shots from the inside, and they don't want to have to be specific every time. Yeah,
I think that's the only place it's the only way that I've seen it before too, is that because it's both really. Your characters are indoors they're not in the weather, but it's exterior also, which means there's two different kinds of light, so it's sort of I think it's for the benefit of lighting and a bunch of other things too. We have to deal with the outside light and inside light at the same time. So it's complicated.
Yeah. All right. You guys, any other thoughts on the story itself?
Well, it's interesting that it was left on a bit of a cliffhanger. Like, there's so many questions yet to be answered.
Now, on that, so that seems like maybe a good thing where it would want you to watch the next episode, or to read more, or want to see more, or.
Now they got you. They got you now, Heather. Are you going to go on HBO and watch the whole season?
I don't have HBO. I don't have HBO Max. I really don't. Like, streaming services are expensive, so I don't have to just wait.
Yeah.
Well,
they got me now. I'm going to have to watch the first episode now, and then I might end up watching the whole thing.
Maybe if I find a DVD of it.
I did like the way they described the character, because this is always the thing that they get into, of like, how do you actually describe the character, like, and describing things that kind of tell about him, like the gray hair, how it's cut, how the face is, the type of suit. But
Yeah.
Okay, so this obviously says they're discussing the other detective, because he mentions the banker. Hart does.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Cohle. Cole's the banker.
But what did he do to get discussed like this? What did he do? Because he gets an interview too. What happens to garner all this attention at the point where they're 56 or whatever, to get all this attention? What did they do?
Oh, I think they just said it at the very end. They called them both back because the killer's back. Right?
Yes, but there's time jumps in the middle, though. There's time jumps.
So yes and no. At the end, they allude that that's why they called them back, because that case it's happening again. And how is it happening if they caught the right person?
So was the one case cold?
But no, this says they caught them. But it's happening again. So, but I did watch, I think, the first season a while ago, and I think they did, as you were picking up on, Heather, there was things about that other guy that they get into, and why they had a falling out and talking to them again and stuff. But yeah, you don't find that out till much later.
So Cohle was a killer.
Nah.
If there were spoilers, I wouldn't give them away. But I'm gonna
don't
say,
give us any spoilers.
Yeah, no,
I'm gonna watch it now.
I'm not gonna give spoilers, but yeah.
Oh, so yeah, this this was set in 2010. That was the setting for the current day, was set in 2010. So I guess this script was probably written about 15 years ago.
Well, the Cohle guy takes a lot of drugs, and he seeks drugs and drinking, and he obviously was traumatized by the death of his kid, and so he snapped, and maybe he wanted to really bring his partner into the real world, so he did all this crazy crap.
I mean,
and maybe he was the one who killed the prostitute and framed somebody else.
Dun dun dun.
There's much more to it when you watch it. So
yeah. Well, it's a good script. I mean, it got sold and it got made.
Yeah,
good stuff.
I wonder the story.
The most important thing is to have a good story. I mean, you can break rules. We're talking about, rules and what you can and can't do in a script, but
Oh, come on. There's no rules. Like Sopranos broke all the rules, Jeremy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, if your story's good enough, then people don't care about the rules that much.
Yep. And if it's already got funding and you're already established, then it's all good. Just kidding.
Most times when rules are broken, that's when things become quite magical. When I was writing songs, I didn't know the rules to writing songs. and that meant I didn't have to follow them. And our songs were at least 10 years ahead of their time. So yeah, break the
Yeah.
rules.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Aaron, any thoughts? Harry, haven't heard much from you.
No,
Maybe
you've
not.
all summed up a lot of what I was thinking. So
Mhm. Cool. Yeah, I think like when something like is new and different, then like people love it and gets talked about, and then it almost becomes the norm later after that and stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting to read a pilot because, I mean, if it's a pilot, then you know that this season it's not the climax of the story, right? There's not going to be a climax of the story. It's maybe, you don't want to have a ton of just exposition and info dump, kind of stuff. But it's interesting to read it because there's not much of an arc, It's still
Yeah.
fun and it's still a great story, but this is just the beginning, so it's a little disappointing, but it's totally understandable that there's not a 3-act, kind of a deal going on. We just barely started.
Which in a lot of even pilots, they have like episodes, they have an arc for the episode, and then they have the arc for the whole thing, which
Right.
obviously it doesn't seem here. And another thing, like from reading these a lot, like I started to notice that pilots cram so much usually into that first pilot episode. Like you got to know the characters, you got to know this, you got to know where it's going and all this stuff. This one doesn't do that. This one is like you're saying, like, is it this? Is that? Is like it seems much slower, much more drawn out.
This is a slow burn.
Yeah.
I mean, it does end with we find out why they're interviewing them, which is because the guy's back, so that's very cool. And you're kind of hooked and you want to see the next one. But, I think an interesting question would be like, if there was any kind of turn or any kind of, the height of drama in this episode is probably the dinner, right? That's the most dramatic thing I can think of is when Cole's at dinner, and we don't even really see it because it's kind of when Hart goes to answer the phone, and then he comes back and Cohle is like, he's emotional and stuff because he's been talking to his wife. That's really the only turn, except for the very end where we find out that the killer's back. But other than that, that's the only like moment of growth or, a turn or anything in the whole episode is when he actually stays for dinner, and gets emotional for a minute.
You know what? Cohle reminds me of Michael from The Office.
Michael.
He does, because he says the weirdest crap and annoys the crap out of everyone, but then later actually shows that he can be intelligent and somewhat human.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
I just realized that.
Interesting.
Don't you see the parallel?
Well, when you describe what you think is feel is parallel, that I can see that. But yeah,
there's not a Star Trek character you could compare him to.
Well,
I mean,
I can think of at least
probably Julian Bashir or maybe Spock as well, just because they're very odd in their own environments. But and people kind of reject them for being weird. But there are moments that they show their intelligent, caring side, and eventually people embrace them for who they are.
Yeah, Data seemed quite human, but they called it, even in this script, they called him an android. That he was
goodness, like Data has such a, well, never mind, I won't bring up Data's ending, but Data was very much embraced as well. Data's around the same category.
Something else I was gonna say, but I forgot.
Because you're so tired because you don't sleep.
Kind of like the character.
This script is in Arkansas, and they did change it to Texas, right? Am I crazy? I just watched it the first 5 minutes a couple days ago. I think they changed it to Texas. And anyway, I told you before we started that they changed a few things. Most of it was just dialogue, it's minor stuff, but
Mhm.
The script even mentioned Arkansas or Arkansas or however it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Okay. And it says this series is like largely a fictional work, but they did draw lots of inspiration from real life cases and phenomena.
Yeah.
So,
I think you would have to. I mean, I would
Yeah.
have to because, I'm not a real life detective, but
exactly. You'd want to do your research to make sure that it's authentic and right and both, I would think, to a lot of stuff. Or
Yeah.
that you should.
there's probably a lot of true life stuff that you wouldn't believe if somebody made it up,
Yeah.
you know, unfortunately.
Mhm. All right. Well, I guess if no one else has any other input of they want to discuss about it or share, we can end this one.
Great job, y'all.
Yeah.
Great job, y'all.
And
Great
thanks
job,
for and thanks you guys for taking on so much and being so flexible at the last minute and stuff. So
Yeah, my pleasure.
So everyone
Oh,
hire
it
these
was
people,
fun.
true team players that, come out on holidays and pursue their passion and stuff. So, all right. And then join us next week for Rick and Morty. I
may-
know.
I may have to go and sign up for that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I asked you if we could change it.
Yeah. To another week or.
Yeah, I can't be here next week. It's killing me.
Do you like that show a lot? Do you watch it? Do you?
Yeah, I've seen them all. I mean, it's not a, I'm not one of those guys, but it's a comedy and it's animation, and that would, I would love to do that.
And we could talk about the Dan Harmon story circle. Okay.
Right.
So, all right. Well, let's look at the schedule. See if we have Mitchell's versus the Machines coming up, which is animation. Have you guys seen that? That's a
I've
great
I
seen it.
animated
haven't.
movie.
That's not my style of animation.
You don't know it unless you watch it. What do you mean it's not your style of animation?
I'm more of a Flintstones, Jetsons, Scooby-Doo type of guy.
That would be
Okay,
fun,
so
too.
Early 80s 2D animation. You don't like any 3D animation?
I'm also into Power Rangers types of that.
Mhm. Yeah, but all right. Well, I recommend it. I think it's worth the watch. I say
Maybe
give it a
Sailor
try,
Moon.
Heather.
I've watched Sailor Moon.
How about
All right.
Digimon?
I don't know. Send me suggestions on 3D animation. I really don't. And I used to watch The Simpsons like all the time. And Futurama.
Oh, that show's
Yep.
coming back.
And you guys can watch
Yeah.
our table read of the Simpsons episode with an animator from the Simpsons that talks a little bit about the process. Go back in our playlist.
Okay, I watched a little bit of Robot Chicken too, but don't tell anyone.
We
Yeah, that's
just
a great show
told the world.
too.
But all right. Thank you guys so much.
All right.
This has
Happy
been
4th of July
good.
to the Americans
Oh,
and all
definitely.
and everywhere. We love
We
you.
don't get political or religious here.
Yeah.
That's in our group thing. We keep it so welcoming for everybody. Okay, no, yeah. Thank you. All right, you guys.
Happy Boxing Day, whatever that is.
All right. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.